understanding the four layers of the mind. With this knowledge, you'll be able to consciously store events and your emotional reaction to them. First is cognition. A substance is presented to the mind, and you'll be able to discern or tell the difference between sound and smell. You hear a lion roaring, and you innately know it's a sound you are hearing, not a smell. That's cognition. Second, recognition. You recognize the sound, so you know it's a lion roaring and not a toilet flushing. Third, reaction. It's your emotion towards the sound. For example, let's say you had an amazing day with your partner and you're laying in bed full of life, and suddenly you hear a lion roaring from a documentary and your partner happens to be next to you. Going forward, when you hear the same noise, it will trigger emotions similar to that day. 4. Conscious response. The first three layers are natural or unconscious, and the fourth layer determines how the event is stored in your subconscious. For example, let's say you go on Instagram and see a negative comment, or you're outside and get shouted at publicly by a stranger. Your instant reaction can be intense. You start to feel a mini shock and begin projecting this is bad. Now your subconscious has stored this event as bad. Then what happens is you begin walking around with this panic, ready and loaded to be released. Every time you would check your Instagram or when you're walking down a street, that fear is sitting in your chest because all that's running through your head is that previous event, which previously caused the fear. But this is what you do. When an event you perceive as bad arises, ask yourself, how can I use this event to benefit me? Will I let this event hold power over me? And if the event is related to your goal and it's perhaps an outcome you thought couldn't have happened, ask yourself this. Am I willing to accept this as a blessing in disguise? You must purposely look for reasons why this is true. For example, maybe this client could have been toxic or taxing. What if I signed this contract? It could have been hell to work with this company. You see how biased I'm being? These are just as valid as the BS negative ones you all come up with. And then tell yourself, I'm proud, I'm choosing to be positive. I'm going to see how everything really works in my favor. And I'm grateful I can do this because not everyone can do this. I can because I'm strong, I'm mighty. Own those words. And also, don't try and strangle your emotions. You'll hear me say this every single video. Let it be, don't go with it, watch it, and ask the questions I mentioned, and consciously choose to see the positive. And then whatever happens to you, you're naturally rugged, you become iron. Remember, the same situation can be occurring to two very different individuals, and their future outcomes and next slides in life will be absolutely non-identical, because it's never the event, action, or circumstance that causes outcomes. It's the being it's happening to. Gem 2. There's no such thing as ego and accepting your dark side. I'll be making a full video on this, so look out for it. But the truth really sunk into me from one of my greatest teachers, Alan Watts. Ego doesn't exist. You've been given some false BS that you have another life or another energy within yourself, and it just doesn't make sense. There is no higher or lower, there's just self. Stop separating everything. Yes, I acknowledge duality. However, it doesn't mean I have to abide by its rules. Coming to this realization will set you free because nothing is inherently good or bad. It's just our perception. The main reason I bring this to your attention is because after all my years of studying from all my teachers and reading all my books and scriptures and being engulfed in hundreds of documentaries, being isolated from the world for years, going through the initiation practices by myself, it just makes sense. It makes absolute sense why society would want you to think the ego is bad. Because if you attain true mastery of yourself, you are no longer a sheep. You will no longer be led astray. And everyone, every teacher, no matter who it is, who really knows the spiritual arts, the spiritual practices, will preach the same thing. It will just be said differently, because life is truly in the middle. This is the pinnacle way to live. And once you study and embody this, you can actively choose to use your perception on things and use duality to your benefit, knowing yes, there is light and dark, but you can remain in the middle. So when you have a thought you consider dark, for example, I just want to be rich, I live my life, and I don't care about helping anyone, or an incoming thought which you perceive to be negative, don't judge the thought. Accept who you are as of right now. Don't force the change. Love yourself. Embrace your darkness and embrace your light. Don't judge your judgments. Receive everything as neutral. And later, going back to Gem 1, attach the positive meaning onto it. Stop being so harsh on yourself. The reason you are so harsh on yourself is because you're trying to keep up with society, which deems what's worthy and what's not. And that is absolute doo-doo. Gem 3, embrace change. See, if you're following my Instagram, you'll see a book called I Am That by Master Sri Maharaj Nisargadatta. And the easiest way to explain his teachings is the reason why mankind suffers is because they are always going with the ever-changing, meaning in this 3D reality, change is as certain as death. However, not everyone can grasp this, but I know you can. So because most people do not understand this, when a situation occurs that alters in their life unexpectedly, they begin to suffer in their mind because you don't like change. Change is bad. When you should embrace and accept change, they also identify with the material, my car, my job, my house, my partner, my food. As soon as something changes with these objects or person, the suffering begins because you think it's you. Even with the body, who are you? You're not the body. You will never say, I'm hand, I'm head. You will say, my hand, my head. Unconsciously, you know deep down you're not these things. However, when the question is posted, who are you? You will say, I'm Jerry Smith or Susie Yost or whatever. And again, these are just letters compiled into names given to your body. So do I save myself and accept I'm beyond the material? Yes, I do. But can you? I'm going to give you a basic formula. Let's just say you're not happy at the moment. A feeling of annoyance or pain usually arises inside the body, be it thought or feeling. Say this to yourself, preferably out loud, but you can perform this internally. I wonder what's next. What will my next thought or emotion be? Who is to think of this thought and see what happens? Chances are incoming thoughts will flood your mind and tell you, me, God, the universe, and simply respond, who is me? What is God? What is the universe? Who am I? Just notice how clear you become. Feel that peace that's always been inside of you and try to be in this feeling for as long as you can. There's only one name I can give this feeling, and this is awareness, the never changing. I would advise you to do this over and over again. Keep doing it. Keep asking the questions. Keep policing yourself until you realize the truth. Here's a quick recap, guys. Gem 1. Understanding the 4 layers of the mind. Cognition, recognition, reaction, and response. Always break your thoughts to its bare root so you can always respond accordingly and use it to your benefit. Gem 2. There is no such thing as ego or higher and lower. Self. There is just self. Accept yourself. Enjoy your process and growth. Love yourself. Cast no judgment towards your thoughts or feelings. See everything as neutral and then consciously choose to see the positive. Gem 3. Embrace change. Stop labeling everything as you and internally inquire about who you are, what you are. Constant self-inquiry.